Aiden's here.
Hello.
Hey, Aiden. Let's see who else has joined us. Trying to do two things at once. We're up to 4. Oops. Let's see, I'm up to 7, 8. Wait a few minutes, see who all shows up before we get started. How y'all been doing?
Good.
That's good.
Yeah. Good. How about you?
Oh, I've been hanging in there. Been keeping me busy this week. I got a 3 o'clock class with my third block since I'd usually meet them on Friday, and I just want to go over a couple of things with them. So we're up to 9. Jose's here. We're up to 12. Nikisi is here. I was hoping to get a lot of people here today because I need to go over a couple of things about the rubric and devices and some other stuff regarding the exam. So far, I've got 12, which is barely half the class. I'll wait about 2 minutes and we'll get started. Do y'all have storms in Lexington this morning?
Oh.
Storm?
Yeah, like thunderstorms. We had like thunder coming through like early this morning around 5:30 or 6.
I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
We did.
Okay. I think we'll go ahead and get started. We only had 2 skeletons left. There was 1 written assignment on it. Are there any questions about anything as far as those materials go?
No.
Nope.
Let me check something real quick. Hey, Amy's here. That's good. I was hoping I got to talk to Amy today anyway. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 submissions are missing from Monday's assignment. So basically, what I was just going to do is go over a couple of things on the skeletons real quick. Basically, it's talking about globalization and resistance to globalization, which, you know, I kind of think it's pretty straight up. Um, with the transportation networks becoming tighter, a lot of things spread around the world and they're more intermingled than they used to be. Music, movies, social media. I'm trying to think. I put on one of these. Yeah, I put on I put on the last skeleton, Weibo, just because I think last time we were talking about multinational corporations and the fact that I wanted you guys to just recognize that not all of the multinationals are American companies. You know, same thing for social media and culture. Not all of it's American. Um, you know, especially like if you look at sports, most of the sports that are big in the United States, the rest of the world, you know, it's not that big of a deal. Um, Football's the biggest one. Like football in the United States is not the same football the rest of the world thinks about, and American style football is basically ignored in the rest of the world. Whereas the biggest sport in the rest of the world is what, guys?
Soccer?
Soccer.
Right, right. And in the US, soccer is like, you know, way down on the list as far as popularity in the United States. So that's just one example. The Olympics, how that got going in the 20th century. You have, I'm trying to think, those examples of consumer culture, Amazon. Trying to think. Alibaba, did any of you guys read about that?
About the Winter Olympics?
Not the Winter Olympics, but the Alibaba website.
Wait, in China?
Yeah, yep.
Oh,
So
like
that
the Twitter? It's supposed
well,
to be like,
Alibaba's not Twitter. Alibaba's like
It's
Amazon.
like Twitter.
I think Weibo's the Twitter they got over there.
oh, I was confused.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm trying to think. You guys have watched Aladdin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, either the new one or the old one or what have you. All right. And Aladdin's the genie that brings you, you know, your wishes, right?
Yeah.
All right. Way to remember this. Alibaba's from what part? Alibaba. Aladdin's from what part of the world?
Isn't it like Egypt?
India?
What region?
Middle East?
East?
Right, the Middle East. And so, just like Aladdin's from the Middle East, Alibaba is one of the most famous fictional characters out of the Middle East. You know, there's this story, Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. All right, and so, you know, what do thieves do? They go and get stuff, right? So the way I try to remember Alibaba is it's the same kind of deal. It's a Chinese site, but they're selling stuff and bringing stuff around the world. So that's kind of how I keep them straight as far as them and Weibo and not mixing them up. Trying to think. So far, are we good, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Talked about resistance to globalization. There was some stuff about like how people have protested like this whole global mindset, like how you kind of drown in the big picture of the world and you kind of lose your individuality. That's what a lot of that seems to be about that I've read. You also have Alibaba and Weibo kind of rise up to say, hey, look, you don't have to buy from American companies like Amazon. You don't have to do American social media like Twitter or Snapchat. You guys know TikTok is Chinese.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. So, that's kind of another one of those examples where you have companies and countries pop up around the world to say, hey, you don't have to do what the Americans sell or give or provide. You can kind of go a different way with it. The one big thing I kind of wanted to get into that I want to try to see if you guys can remember for a while is this United Nations setup that you have. Do you guys know when the United Nations was organized? After what event?
After
Forward.
World War II.
Correct. And what's the goal, the biggest goal of the United Nations?
It is to like
Make
prevent
peace.
World peace.
To prevent World War III.
Yeah, that's the big one. David had it. They do not want another world war. And they created a mechanism for that, which is the UN Security Council. So, trying to think. Yeah, so did you guys read how many countries are in the Security Council?
15.
Correct. And 10 of them are somewhat randomly picked from every major region of the world. So the Middle East has a representative, Sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, East Asia, Western Europe, Eastern Europe. They try to balance it out in the world. But the purpose is basically, it's what the League of Nations was supposed to do. If some country goes crazy, the members of the Security Council are going to say, hey, we're not going to put up with this. We're going to come together and go after it. Who are the 5 nations who are always on the council no matter what?
The
China.
United States, Russia, China, France, and Great Britain.
Correct. Anyone know what those 5 countries had in common in 1945?
They won the
They
World
were
War
all
II.
developed.
I think, Nyla, did you say they helped to win
They-
World War II?
They were all
Yeah.
superpowers.
Yeah, they're not all superpowers. Remember, there's only 2 superpowers in 1945, but these are the 5 most important Allied countries that helped to beat the Axis. They were the 5 most important as far as fighting the Germans and the Japanese. And so they were seen as the 5 that were most important to, since they worked together, right? So they were seen as the 5 most important to keep working together to stop anybody from rising up that way. Because they were seen as the most important, they were given veto power on the council, and they still have veto power on the council. So can somebody kind of explain or describe how that would work?
So like basically if they didn't like a policy, they could just like cancel it.
Yeah, whenever somebody proposes something in the Security Council, it's going to come up for a vote. And so when it comes up for a vote, if any one of the big 5, the 5 permanent members, if any one of them votes no, then it's dead. It doesn't matter if all other 14 are with it. If any one of those big 5 vote no, then it's dead. There was one example of the UN Security Council using war to keep a smaller war from turning into a world war. Does anyone know which war that was?
Is it the Cold War?
It was during the Cold War. It was one of the wars inside the Cold War. And it was
Korea?
early on in the Cold War. Say that again?
Is it the Armed Race?
Korea? Like
Yeah.
the Korean War?
Yeah, it was the Korean War. Because North Korea invaded South Korea, and South Korea, I think, was a member, I'm not sure, but the United States, went to the Security Council and said, hey, look, this isn't right, this isn't what we agreed to. After World War II, we said we were going to leave other countries alone and not invade them and not take them over. And so they went to the Security Council. They went to vote. Now, of course, North Korea invaded South Korea in that war. So you would think which country would vote no on the Korean War?
South. Wait.
Who are the big five again? One of those big five. You
The
would
U.S.
think, not the U.S. wants it. The
Oh,
U.S.
is it China?
I'll get back to China, but there's one even more obvious.
Russia?
Right, the Soviet Union. Because remember, the Soviet Union at this time is what? What kind of country is the Soviet Union?
Communist.
You're right, they're communists, so that's why they don't exist anymore. All right? But the Soviet Union, when it fell apart, Russia got the seat. But the Soviet Union, you would think, would vote no, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't vote at all. And the reason they didn't vote at all was going back to what Nyla was saying when she brought up China. China became communist right before the Korean War started. But the rest of the UN wouldn't let the communists get the seat. Do you guys remember or have read about maybe what happened to Chiang Kai-shek and the nationalists once the communists took over the government?
I don't think so.
Okay, so let me try to do this. Give me a minute. I want to pull something up. That works, I think. My computer's being slow. My hotspot's maxed out on its data using my router. Can you all see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
I know it's kind of fuzzy, but the red is what people think of as China. But you guys see the island off to the right?
Yeah.
For all of China's history, pretty much, that was also part of China. But now it's not, because when the communists took over China, the nationalists ran to that island. That island is what? It's on your screen.
Taiwan?
That's Taiwan. Okay. And so the communists have wanted to take Taiwan over all the way since then, all the way since 1949. But they've been unable to. Can somebody tell me why? Or come up with a guess why?
Because the United Nations takes care of them, basically.
It's not the United Nations that takes care of them. Somebody else has told the People's Republic, if you ever mess with Taiwan, we're going to war with you. There's not a lot of countries China would take that threat seriously from. So guess who it's going to be?
The U.S.
Correct. That's the only reason Taiwan exists. All right. The government in Beijing still says that Taiwan belongs to it and someday it will get Taiwan back. But they've been saying that for, decades and decades. They won't take it back as long as the U.S. promises to protect Taiwan. But Taiwan kept China's seat in the Security Council. So when the Korean War started and the Security Council had to vote, are we going to authorize use of force to stop North Korea? The old China that's now in Taiwan got to vote in all of China's place. And so China, which is now just this little island of Taiwan, votes yes. And the communists in China are all pissed off like, hey, they're not the real China. They're this little itty bitty island of a joke. We're the real China. We should get the vote. And the Soviet Union was on the communist side, like, yeah, they're the fake China. The real China needs to be in all of this. And so when they had the big vote for the Korean War, the Soviet Union said, we're going to sit this out because we're pissed off at all y'all capitalist pigs. They were kind of going that way with it. And, the little China voted like they were the big China. And so it was 4-0 from the big five. And then the other ones went along, and you got the UN Security Council fighting a war to protect South Korea. That's kind of like the most intense the Security Council has ever been. Still pretty much to this day.
Doesn't China still want like the sea like outside of Taiwan, like that Gulf or whatever?
Yeah, because in the 70s, what happened was the United States started getting close to the communist government in Beijing, and when that happened, the U.S. changed its mind and said, we'll go ahead and let the Beijing government have the China seat in the Security Council. So the British and the French went along with that. And so the Taiwan government was kicked out of that seat, and they were no longer recognized as a country by the UN. They're still not recognized as a country by the UN. That's why in all of your international sports contests, especially the Olympics, they won't call Taiwan Taiwan. They'll call it Chinese Taipei or something like that. Because the Beijing government doesn't want them to be treated like a separate country. They're treated like a rogue province. Trying to think. What was I missing something? I'm not sure if I answered all of your question or not. Anything else, guys?
No.
You covered it.
Okay. Did y'all get my email earlier this morning about the rubrics that I sent y'all?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Trying to think. Everybody here that I'm talking to, they've got a device and they're all good for the exam on the 21st.
Yes.
Okay. Have any of y'all talked with Mackenzie either Tuesday, Wednesday, or today?
No.
I heard she was sick, but that's all I heard.
Okay. I'm going to try to call her after we're done with this because she's supposed to be getting a laptop. And I'm just trying to make sure that's all working out. So what I was, well, actually, yeah, I can go ahead and do this. I checked last night and on AP Classroom, and I saw that like 2 or 3 of you guys have done anything on there. Basically, I kind of retooled it a little bit. The only I took out certain things. I'm trying to make it so like you can get some practice on the material that you can use for the DBQ. I also opened up 2 DBQs for you guys to practice on. What I plan on doing the next time we meet, which is the 23rd, is to go over some of the strategies that I think you guys ought to be using. Have any of you guys gone to the YouTube little review sessions?
Yeah, I did it, but I did it before this class.
Okay.
On the top of like the 9.6, 7, and 8.
Okay. Now they're not testing on 7, 8, and 9, I don't think, but yeah, 7, 8, and 9 they're not testing on, but I think it's useful to have that information for a couple of reasons. One, the College Board still wants you to know it because, you know, colleges are going to expect you to know it. The other reason, the more practical reason, is when you take your DBQ in a few weeks, one of the things you can use is historical complexity and contextualization. Those are two of your points on the rubric. Those aren't going away. And if you can connect whatever DBQ they give you to a contextual theme that goes throughout world history, like, you know, the prevalence of world trade that goes throughout the history of the world, or like, you know, states in conflict with each other is something that's gone throughout the history of the world, or the development of technology is something that's gone throughout the history of the world. If you can connect different things like that, even though it's in unit 7, 8, and 9, you can still make those connections. You can still get those points that way. So, you know, this is why I didn't want to give up teaching you guys the last part of the curriculum. I think it's also why the YouTube channel that College Board is giving hasn't given up on that part of the curriculum. I think both of us are trying to make sure you have that ammunition to be able to attack your prompt that way. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, what's going to help out is between now and 2 weeks from now on the 23rd, to, you know, really hit up the AP Classroom site as much as you can. Watch those YouTube videos, kind of look over your rubrics I gave you, and if you've got your binders at home, try to find those DBQs and try to find the ones where you got the most points, and try to look at those and see, okay, this is you know, something that got me those points on this instance. And if I, you know, kind of mentally kind of zoom in on that and try to repeat those as much as you can, I think that would be helpful to you guys. Anything else from anybody today?
Oh, about the grades?
Yes. Like the grades for the course?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, what they're going to do, let me do it this way because I think it'll be easier. If you're in a semester long class, right, what they're going to do is they're going to take your third quarter grade, whatever number that is, right? Like, let's say, because I know I got a lot of freshmen here, I'll use English 1 as an example. Let's say that you have an 85 in English 1, right? So you're passing the class. They're basically going to take that grade to decide whether or not you pass or fail the class. The fourth quarter grades aren't going to count number-wise. I'm keeping up with the numbers just so you see what they are, because I've got some people in this class who need to pass quarter 4 to pass the class. And if you were in English 1, to take my example, and you had a 50, right? Well, if you have a 50, you fail the class. But what they want to do is, if you do the work that the teachers have been sending you out, if you do that work, you know, that'll pull your 50 up over passing, and they'll give you credit for English 1. But they're going to enter it on your transcript as a pass fail. Quarter 3 is going to basically decide that in a regular semester class. In a year-long class, what they're going to do, like our class, they're going to look at your semester 1 grade. So when you went home from Christmas, whatever grade you have, that's probably the score they're going to give you, unless you are failing the class. And there are people who are failing the class. And if they are failing the class, then they need to be staying on top of these online assignments, and you know, so they can pass the class. And there are a couple, there's actually a couple in here in our little video chat today who I have not gotten any work from at all. I went to the school on Monday to make up paper packets for my other classes, which I don't have to give you guys anymore because we're done with work out of the book. But I had to make them for my other classes, and they had a stack of materials. I was hoping it was going to be thick like this. I was hoping it was going to take me all day, that a bunch of kids didn't have internet access, and I was going to have to take all day grading them. I had 2 students out of your class turn me in any work on paper. I'm like, oh my God. So the stack was that thick from all 4 classes. That's how thick it was. It took me like 15 minutes to grade it. And I was so disappointed. So, you know, if you've got work you need to make up and you're failing or almost failing this class, I would make it up. If your grade is decent in this class, if you're satisfied with your grade in this class, then the only thing you really have to focus on is the exam. And I want you guys to focus on this exam. I know some of y'all are nervous about it, but I mean, most of you guys who are here, I got 15 of y'all here today, and you know, 2/3 of you have done at least one good DBQ, which means you can pass this exam. And if you look at the rubric that I sent, that I wrote myself by hand, if you look at that, the College Board is trying to make your exam easier to pass. And so if you take advantage of that, you should be able to get a 3. Most of you who are here today listening to me should be able to get a 3. And there's about 5 or 6 of you who could probably get a 4, and there's a couple who might even get a 5. So, but you got to work at it. If you just, you know, kick back, put your legs on your desk and say, hey, you know, I passed this class, and, you know, the exam, you know, I'm going to piece it out and I don't really care, then you're passing up an easy opportunity to get college credit. And, you know, most of y'all are freshmen. You should try to get as many college credits as you can between now and 2023 is when a lot of y'all graduate, right?
Yes.
You know, you want to get as many of those as you can before you do that, because you can graduate a semester or even a whole year early, which, you know, I wish I could have done. I had to go an extra year because I couldn't figure out, you know, what I needed to do to get a teaching license until my 2nd year in college. And by then I had to go backwards and take classes that other people took their 1st year. And it wound up costing me, you know, probably $10,000 or so in student debt that I'm still paying off. So I'm trying to save you guys that hassle, you know, by taking this seriously. And whatever happens, you need to take the exam, because you guys know what's going to happen if you don't take the exam. Am I correct?
Yeah, exactly.
You only get honors credit?
Correct. And there are a few people in this class who are not seniors. They're not seniors, who are not freshmen, I'm sorry. And if you are not a freshman and you took an AP class and got honors credit for it, now you just took world history twice and have nothing. You literally wasted a whole year. So, you know, just make sure you take it. If you need a laptop and you're afraid of saying something online because you know, someone's going to, you know, see something and you'll get embarrassed, you know, send me something privately. Or the best thing to do is to go to the LexCS website, go to the toolbox kit, fill out that form, get your laptop. Okay, because I don't want to have a situation where, you know, multiple kids didn't take the exam and they said, well, I didn't have a laptop. Nobody told me to get a laptop. You know, make sure you get what you need. All right. Any other questions about anything?
Mr. Simon, I have a question. So if we have our own computer, and you know how you said we had to install something for it, are you gonna give us instructions on like how to do it, or like are they gonna just send it?
It's looking more and more now that you're not going to need any of that stuff, because what the College Board told us is that you could take the exam on any internet connected device. That can be a laptop, a tablet, a smartphone. That would drive me nuts typing in a whole bunch of stuff on a smartphone, but I guess you could. Or they said you can handwrite. Now, I wouldn't do this, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. They also said you could handwrite it, take pictures of it, and send it in. And the reason why I wouldn't do that is because I'm not, is one, they haven't told us the specific details yet, and they won't do that till the last week of this month as far as how you log into it and start a session and all that. But it's a time test. It's 45 minutes long, and it's going to start exactly at 2 o'clock on May 21st. So I don't know how that's supposed to work with the pictures. The other problem with the pictures is I've had kids, I don't think anybody in your class has done it, but I've had some people take pictures of their work and their camera's all jacked up and it's blurry and fuzzy and I can't read anything, or like they take the paper's here, but they turn the camera this way, and so like whole parts of the page are cut off and you can't even see them or print them or anything. So I'm worried about that if you did the test that way. But it looks like they're not going to make you install anything. I think probably how it's going to work is you would log into AP Classroom that day, and there would probably be some kind of link you would click on, but I don't know yet. They're going to tell us that the end of this month.
Thank you.
Yep.
So
Anything-
it won't be like any practice exams?
Well, that's why I put on AP Classroom, I put 2 DBQs up there for you. And if you take the DBQ, what I would do is I would set a timer for 45 minutes and I wouldn't go past it. What I would do is I would take it for 45 minutes, submit it, see how you do. If you guys do that and we run through both of them, I can come up with another one and send them out to you guys. In fact, I did that for APUSH this morning. I came up with 2 DBQs. They wanted me to assign them as practice assignments as Google Forms. That was a fun little session I had yesterday with them. So I'd like to help you with that if you want it. Trying to think. Feel like I was going to say something about that, but just give those a shot and see how they go. Yeah, now I remember what I was going to say. When you do these DBQs, if you want to do them as practice assignments on AP Classroom, instead of having a 15-minute reading period, because you're not going to get a 15-minute reading period for the exam, what I would do is I would spend 5 minutes. So you might want to set 2 timers, have one go off after 5 minutes, have the other go off after 45 minutes, and have them go off start at the same time. When one beeps, you close it, and then when the other beeps, you submit it. But I would take 5 minutes to look at the prompt, figure out what it wants, and then just not read really detailed, but just skim over the documents and be able to summarize them. And then you plan out your attack, come up with a thesis sentence, some blueprint sentences, and then you go from there. That's kind of how I would work it on the AP Classroom DBQs I've loaded for you guys.
Mr. Zonin, so is second semester gonna affect our GPA?
Your second semester should not affect your GPA as long as you're passing. You're going to get whatever grade you got at the end of quarter 2. So like if your first semester grade for AP World was, an 82, that's probably what they're going to give you as the final score. I think what they were trying to do is if anything you did online or in quarter 3 raised your grade, they were going to take that into consideration, but nothing in quarter 3 or quarter 4 could lower your grade.
Hey, Mr. Zellman, so you know how for April the 8th on the like what you wanted us to do for the homework, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
Do you just want us to like write notes about what we're gonna write in our our paper?
Are you talking about the skeleton where it said homework due Wednesday, prepare for DBQ or reading quiz?
No, it says something about writing hold up. It says notes for research paper must be in bullet form and fully cited to get credit.
Yeah, you're looking at the Weebly page, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta update that. One of y'all sent me a Google Doc last night. Did I tell you guys earlier, like in one of the other weeks after they canceled school, that I was canceling the research paper?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, you don't have. Yeah, I'm not having you do the research paper because remember I wanted some of your sources to come from books and print sources, and since the libraries are all closed, I can't really have you go to a library and get the books. You know what I mean? So because of that, I was canceling the research paper. Nobody has to do that. I'm not expecting anybody to do that, and I'm going to update that on Weebly before I wrap up today. At some
Okay,
point today, I'm going to update that.
Thank you, because I saw that and I was like, wait a minute, I thought we didn't have to do it.
Yeah, I typed all that up before they canceled school.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Anything else?
I have a question.
Yes.
If we do the DBQ on the AP classroom and like you give us like notes on it, can we ask you like more questions about it like during your tutoring?
Most definitely.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
Since Kyra brought it up, oh, I didn't mean to do that. I hate when you click on something and it grabs your window. But since Kyra brought it up, remember that I will be available for any individual questions or anything like that. If you want to meet in a video session, I'll be available Tuesday, the 21st at 3 o'clock. We usually meet Tuesday and Thursday at 3. This week's the only Thursday that won't work because, like I said, I'm meeting my third block at 3 o'clock today. You can always email me if you have any questions, and most of the time I can just answer you straight up on that. Anything else?
No.
All right. If nobody else has anything, I'm gonna sign off in a minute. And I hope you guys have a good break and stay safe and stay healthy.
You too.
You too.
You
All
too.
right, guys. Y'all have a
Bye.
good one. Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you.